Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a review on this guy right here, and this is the Shogun Flex, which is basically a portable smart trainer that's going to allow you guys to train pretty much anywhere. So let's go ahead and talk about it. All right guys, the question you're going to ask is, can this replace my entire gym? Absolutely not. It's basically 4 to 44 pounds, and it's going to allow you guys to train pretty much anywhere. So I feel like this unit is going to be the most valuable if you are traveling a lot, or if you want to do some accessory movements at home and you don't have the space for a cable stack or a functional trainer. That is where this unit is going to shine. You do get a nice carrying case for this unit, so it'll carry the Flex unit. You do get some accessories, you get a handle, you get an ankle cuff, and you also get this rowing strap that can be lengthened or shortened. You get two types of anchors that are included. You get a door anchor, so again, if you're working out and you want to use this thing in a hotel, it is great for that. I have actually done that where I did a work trip and I was there for 5 nights and I was able to work out with no problems. I just stuck it in my door for the hotel and I turned on the unit and I pretty much just used mostly the handle. So you can use that, and then you also get this like strap mount. So this strap mount can be lengthened or shortened. So I think you could probably put this thing around a small tree branch if you wanted to, but it's definitely not going to fit around a full-size tree. And what I use this one for the most is I actually have this unit set up on my front door, and I have a TRX anchor, and I use a carabiner. So I take the strap mount and I shorten that thing all the way and I throw it on my carabiner, and that's how I pretty much use this unit for being upstairs. So unfortunately, when it comes down to this thing, there are no controls on the unit itself. You're gonna have to use an app. You can do iPhone, iOS, or Android. And the app itself is pretty well done. So we're gonna go into the app right now. I'm gonna log in and it's gonna say Timothy, and you're gonna see that I have no today's duration or anything like that. I don't really use the app for training. I only use the app for controlling the device. So you do have free training on here. You have an exercise library that you can use, and there is no monthly subscription price or anything like that. So it is a pretty good value when it comes down to it for buying the Shogun Flex. So the first thing to do when it comes to using the app is obviously you're gonna have to turn the unit on. And now we can go into the app. We can say My Flex, and we can go to the unit and we can say reconnect. And now it's going to show that it's connected to the unit. All right guys, this Shogun Flex is gonna have 6 different training modes. First one is gonna be standard mode. That's gonna be basically feeling like a normal functional trainer. Then you have eccentric. Now what eccentric mode does, if you guys don't know which one the eccentric is as I'm doing an exercise. So let's say I'm doing a row. As I'm doing a row, my muscle is lengthening. So that is my eccentric portion. And what I mean by that is when you're using this app, and let's say I got 22 pounds on here and I do 50% of eccentricity at 11 pounds, it's going to basically try to do 33 pounds for the eccentric portion. Now we also have one called concentric. Instead of the lengthening, it is going to be the contraction, so the pulling as the muscle is getting shorter. Same thing, I can do a portion of a certain amount of percentage of the weight. So I can do up to 50%, which is going to be 11 pounds at 22 pounds. So it's going to be trying to do the 33 pounds at the concentric motion. Now I want to point out, this is very important. When you are doing any one of these eccentric, concentric modes, if you are already at 44 pounds, you can't go over the maximum amount of weight that this unit can do. So if you're at 44 pounds, guess what? You're stuck. You can't do any more than 44 pounds. So you have to be under the 44 pounds in order to add more weight to that concentric or eccentric. The next mode that we have is called constant, and I'm not a huge fan of this one. So it's technically supposed to be 44 pounds for the eccentric and 44 pounds for the concentric if I'm doing 44 pounds. But here's the kicker. When I do my exercise and I pause, it almost feels like the unit itself is no longer doing anything because now it's constant. So it's only going to have resistance as I'm pulling and as I'm coming back toward the unit. and it somehow recognizes that I do a pause if I decide to pause. So it almost feels like I'm just holding the unit with zero resistance. The next one we have is called chain mode. Again, this 44 pounds applies. So if I'm doing anything with 44 pounds, then I'm not going to be able to really utilize these different modes. So if I'm doing 22 pounds, the chain load ratio is going to start, and it's going to be based off of length. So the Shogun Flex unit has 56 inches for the traveling length of this strap. It also does have an extension adapter that you can use, and that is going to be an extra 30 inches. And then there's a connection point in the middle at 15 inches. And where this is going to come in handy is if you're doing something like a standing shoulder press, or if you're doing a standing lateral raise, you're going to have to use the extra length. Otherwise, this unit only goes up to 56 inches, and it's going to max out by the time you hit a certain point. So it is very useful to have that actual extension strap. Your last mode that you have on here is called generation mode. Now this is kind of cool. Let's say I'm at 8% battery life, I turn this thing on and I don't have any place to charge it, and I still want to work out. Well, what I can do is I can go to generation mode, and here's what it says. The faster you pull, the higher the efficiency. Your flex will be charged when you reach a certain speed. There's actually a typo in there which messed me up. It says your flex width be charged when you reach a certain speed, but it meant to be saying will. What I mean by that is if I yank on this thing really hard, and I'm really yanking at a high efficiency and a good speed, I can start to charge this device. And I've done this, and honestly it takes forever. But it's kind of cool because if you're at 8% or whatever it is, a low battery, and you want to use this device, you can still use the device in generation mode. And now you can, as you're doing your exercise and yanking away, you can charge the device. The other thing I want to point out is you do have the ability to adjust the length of this strap. So what do I mean by that? If you're doing something where, in my case, I've used my VTS and I've set it up where I have it and I pull the strap and I hook it up to my VTS, I can basically go into this app and say, I don't want any resistance up to this point. And now after this point, then the resistance is going to kick on. So it's not going to be constantly trying to pull when it's just sitting there, which is a really cool feature. You can obviously use this for different types of hacks. And there's two different ways to do this. You can either set it manually, or you can just put the weight down, pull the strap, and then you can say current, you can say the current length, and then it's going to stop at that certain point. That's pretty much when it comes down to the app. Honestly, like I said, I don't really love using my phone when I'm training. I use my phone mostly for music. So if you do not like to use your phone while you're training, obviously you're not going to like this unit, because you have to use the app in order to operate this thing. Now, I do want to talk about some of the optional accessories that you can get for this unit. Now, I want to say that these are optional because obviously they're going to cost you more money. Now, there are a few different mounts that you can get. My favorite one is going to be the rack mount. So the rack mount is going to be basically a cage type mount, and you're going to be able to put this thing on your power rack. I think it's 5/8 to 1 inch, and then it has an elongated bracket for this bottom screw. So you can basically adjust this thing, or if the hole spacing is different, you can kind of move this thing around in order to get it to fit most power racks. There is a quick release screw on there, so all you have to do is hit the button. There's like a half thread in there, so when you press the button, it's going to move the thread away, so you're going to be able to slide this thing on relatively quick. You're going to let go of the button, and then you're going to tighten it a little bit. And that is going to be how you can easily move this thing up and down when you want to adjust the different heights. The other mount that they have is going to be for their foot platform. Now, the foot platform is a travel platform, and it requires these ones called swivel cages. Now, the swivel cages, you basically will slide on to the foot platform, travel platform, and it locks in. So now you can do things like bicep curls, squats. You can do lunges. Obviously, if you're going to train with this device, 44 pounds is not going to be a heck of a lot for legs. So you're going to want to kick on to doing these unilateral exercises. So those are the different types of mounts that they have. They also have a track that you can mount onto your wall. I have not done so, but it does use the swivel cage mounts in order to use the track mount. And that is going to kind of replicate a functional trainer. So let's go ahead and talk about price, because that's where this thing does get kind of expensive. But if you compare it to different devices like the Voltra, which is over $2,000, it's not so bad. But keep in mind the Voltra goes up to 200 pounds. This little guy only goes up to 44 pounds. All right guys, when it comes to the price, right now the one unit is $297.45 on sale. Unfortunately, it is sold out at the moment, so you can click on the button and say notify me when available. Otherwise, if you're going to do the 2 flexes, it is $594.91. Again, it's sold out, unfortunately. Otherwise, the price is $699.95 for the 2 units. Okay, when it comes to those accessories that I talked about, so the first thing is the swivel cage. That is going to be $59.49, which is on sale at the moment. Otherwise, it's normally $69.99. Otherwise, the Flex rack mount is going to be usually $99.99. Right now, it's on sale for $89.99. The Flex platform is usually $129.99. Right now, it's on sale for $116.99. Otherwise, the Flex wall rails is $67.49. You are looking at roughly $800 in order to get the 2 units and the 2 rack mounts. For all transparency purposes, this is the first company that actually sent me something to review. And I am very thankful for Shogun for sending me this unit. But I do want to point out that this was something I was very close to buying myself. I actually reached out to Shogun just before I was going to order the 1 unit myself. So thankfully they recognized me, they knew who I was as a channel, and they gave me the chance and they sent me this unit for free. Do I think that I would have bought this unit for the 1? Honestly, probably. I was always using resistant bands. And I think having this unit, and I probably wouldn't have bought, obviously, the rack mount or any of that kind of stuff, because I only really want this for traveling. So for the price of this 1 unit at $297, chances are I would have bought it. And honestly, if you're going to buy it for your home, your chances are you're going to want to use it for eccentric, concentric, or the chain mode, because it's going to just give you a different type of training compared to something like a normal functional trainer. All right, guys, that has been my review for the Shogun Flex unit. There was a lot to cover here, so if I missed anything, go ahead and drop me a comment, and I'm happy to go and get back to you. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you guys hit the like button. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss any future content. Otherwise, hope you guys all have a wonderful day and take care.